I'm just sharing this. You know, it's more fake news, isn't it, being peddled by the people that are always going on about fake news. Well, everything's fake news until it applies to Donald. If it applies to Donald Trump, isn't it? You know, it's fake news, but everything that Donald Trump and his supporters say is gospel truth, isn't it? Now, there's this been going around the internet, which I find very disturbing. Queen Elizabeth says, Muslim refugees are dividing nationality. I fully agree with Donald Trump. We should deport them to avoid bloody terrorist attacks. Do you agree with her? And there's quite a few sites sharing this statement along with this video interview with the Queen. This weekend the BBC is broadcasting a journalistic rarity, a full sit-down conversation with Queen Elizabeth II, and you know, she talks about her coronation interview, and there's this video there in which, you know, you can watch a clip of it, and she says absolutely nothing at all about agreeing with Donald Trump and believing that we should deport all Muslims. Now, this is, as usual, you know, they speak as the Native Americans always fully understood. They speak with forked tongue. So this propaganda is serving on one hand to suggest that the Queen is fully supporting Donald Trump, that yes, you know, she wants to deport Muslims. She believes Muslims are a terrorist threat in Britain, you know, Muslim refugees, and we need to deport them to avoid bloody terrorist attacks, because basically Muslim refugees are all bloody terrorists, aren't they? That's what's being said. That's the assumption, okay? And it's a bit of an odd assumption, considering that the Middle East is suffering terrible damage and devastation directly as a result of Western military interventions in those regions, apparently to liberate, i.e. the Iraqi and Libyan and Afghani people, and now also the Syrian people they're anxious to liberate, and at the same time in that process empowering and actually arming ISIS. So you know, who are the real bloody terrorists on this planet? Queen Elizabeth, you know, is what a lot of people will be asking, when actually she didn't even say that, did she? She didn't say that. So in a way, this also is putting even the royal family at risk, because there's a very large portion of British people that do not believe that Muslim refugees are a bloody terrorist threat, who do not agree with Donald Trump. There are a large portion of the British public who are Muslims. They're not refugees, they're Muslims living in Britain. So, you know, when people going about their day-to-day business in Britain as a Muslim, and so they might be targeted by somebody who has gone crazy with all this kind of stuff, okay? And I'll give you an example of such a person. There was one such person who went and tapped on a parked car window where there was an Asian Muslim looking man with his sister in the car, and he then, when they rolled the window down, squeezed a bottle of acid, threw a bottle of acid over both of them, shouting "Hello Akbar." Okay, these were non-terrorist, non-extremist, just British Muslims who are now scarred for life. The guy had to be put in a medically induced coma. You know, this is the kind of stuff that is happening. Okay, now if this headline results, these kind of headlines results in just one person being scarred for life with acid, this headline itself is a terrorist threat. And it is also a threat, really, against the royal family themselves, isn't it? Because, you know, it could radicalise a lot of people, Muslims then, turn Muslims against the Queen as well, so that there's a divide against the Queen. And, you know, we know what the conspiracy is here. We know that the conspiracy is to deepen the divides, deepen the social divides, get everybody fighting against each other. And, you know, she, whether wittingly or unwittingly, sits above it all, probably completely unaware, really, of exactly what it is her royal family are supporting, or, in fact, of exactly how corrupt and evil is the power that sustains her. You know, she doesn't know any different than what she was born into. And that's why it is up to people to get educated, isn't it? So that we're not slaves to a mould that we were born into, so that we can break outside the moulds and actually be liberated human beings and make our own minds up, regardless of what background we came from. To try and understand people who've come from other backgrounds, who essentially have had she's had an alien existence on planet Earth. Because it isn't normal, her existence. It's not it isn't a normal existence. It's an alien existence. She is alienated. And people talk about her if she's you know, well, people forget they're just human beings, says one news commentator. Really? Well, if she's just a human being, then why is she on mainstream news talking about this absolutely ridiculous, antiquated bauble that got planted on her head by a global criminal cabal that have been profiting off crime after crime after crime throughout every century, all on the strength of a pack of lives and a usurpation of Jesus' life? That's what's happened. That is what has happened. There's no getting away from it. She apparently is head of the Luciferian cult that they replaced Jesus with. She doesn't know it's a Luciferian cult. Nobody today on the ground really knows, but the people at the very top, the financiers, know. And they are mighty because of their finance, and they can use their finance to do whatever they want. And if they want to, you know, create depleted uranium warheads, and they want to go and deploy them in Iraq, then they will do that. They will do whatever they like. If they want to build a nuclear power plant and, you know, provide nothing at all to deal with 3 melt-throughs, they will do that. If they want to persuade the Queen that, look, you've got these Commonwealth lands and you've got all this uranium on it, actually we can make some really powerful and valuable stuff with this, and we'll make you, you know, a multi-billionaire. Oh yes, yes. She just listens to a scientist, because as far as she's been indoctrinated into believing, the general global public are just, you know, idiots. We've not got a jot of intelligence between us. She trusts the people that come out of the universities with their science degrees and the doctorates and the masters. You know, she doesn't understand that these people can be totally crazy. You know, it doesn't really take any great degree of intelligence to pass a degree. In fact, the more intelligent you are, the more difficult people are going to have at university just regurgitating the absolute crap that they're expected to swallow. So, you know, what we're dealing with here is a person who's been psychologically abused since childhood, who does need our compassion and respect. Prince William and Prince Harry are Diana's sons, and she paid a great sacrifice. She and her partner, you know, as far as the evidence shows, we have lawful reason to suspect that she was actually, herself and Dodi and their driver were all taken out, as it were, silenced, because they were speaking against landmines. They were about to visit Palestine even. You know, these things, we understand what happened to Princess Diana has really never been adequately solved, and we do have the verdict that their deaths, Princess Diana and Dodi and the driver Henri Paul, were the result of unlawful killing. That was the verdict. Unlawful killing. Not accidental death or death by misadventure. It was unlawful killing, and we still have not, nobody yet has been brought to justice. There's been no further investigations into who unlawfully killed Prince William and Prince Harry's mother. Personally, you know, I've got nothing against a royal family if that royal family is actually looking out for the people and for our nation, and takes everybody into account in our nation. And you know, I certainly do not believe the Queen would ever make a comment like this, and there is absolutely no evidence to support that she has made this comment. So what is this? Why is this all over the internet? Is there now some risk in the royal family because they've let a bit of colour into it? Are they frightened that the royal family is, you know, the next generation is going to be a bit too human for comfort, for the total sadistic psychopaths who are governing us, and so now they're drawing up the dividing lines for what, civil war in Britain? Is that what they want? Because that's usually what any country that starts to wake up, you know, look at Africa. Wherever the people start to show an interest in somebody who's a real intelligent human being and who is actually prepared to stand up for African people's rights, isn't it strange how suddenly that nation is afflicted with civil war? Look at Venezuela. You know, the elected Chavez, the people who elected Chavez, oh, suddenly Venezuela is a war zone. But it wasn't really a war. It wasn't a war zone, was it, for how many decades of being ruled by successive USA puppets? Because they use their guns and power to silence the people when they're in power. And they use their guns and power to fight back, to oppress when the opposition to their evil is in power. And they are more evil. They are evil enough to kill, okay, for their right to rob and loot and rape. They are evil enough to kill for their rights to live by the Luciferian law of might equals right to do as thy will. And unfortunately, you know, that is what the royal family are supporting. You know, she is head of the Luciferian, you know, the English version now of the Luciferian cult. That always was and is the Roman Catholic Church. She sits on top of it. So, You know, and that is what she's serving. The Luciferian cult. And, you know, I've explained it in previous videos. Cross of death, instrument of Roman torture, human sacrifice, celebration of human sacrifice, ritualistic cannibalism. You know, is that what Jesus came for? For us all to kneel before an instrument of Roman torture and participate in human sacrifice and cannibalism? Of course not. Of course not. Did Jesus build a church? No. The people that followed Jesus, the first Christians, incorporated him into their existing religion. That's why you have Judaic Christians, and there were Voodoo African Christians, and Druid Celtic Christians. Okay, nobody followed a religion called Jesus. Okay, but Rome had to turn Jesus into a religion in order to silence and disempower the people who had stood up to Rome and said, do you know what, you can stuff your physical gold. It's got no power over us. We don't believe in it. We don't believe it's valuable. Jesus has explained to us it isn't, and that what is valuable is the golden light of universal intelligence, and we're going to follow him as our representative of man, the male man, not your brutal Roman dictator with his horde of henchmen thugs who believe in nothing except your physical gold. Because why are they psychopaths? Can they find no love in this world, that they have to go around to get their pleasure from robbing, raping and looting, torturing and murdering people? You know, and that is the power that established all the thrones in the first place, and on which all of the powers of this present day is still thriving. And there's no getting away from it. So you can distract people with the Muslim issue, oh, let's attack gays, or oh, look, there's loads of women having abortions. Really, is there? What? It's such a lovely place to bring a child into this world right now, isn't it? It's no wonder women are killing themselves after having a baby with postnatal depression. Do you think that's normal? Is it normal? Well, it is in our society. It's quite normal for women to feel quite depressed after having a baby. I wonder why. I wonder why. Is it because we're living in a totally inhumane world that has, you know, spiritually decapitated the female and cut out the man's heart? That's reality. It's harsh, it's hard, and yet still humanity survives, and still Jesus lives. And he doesn't live in the church, okay? Jesus lives in the church in as much as the people within that church connect to the true reality of Jesus, not as the Son of God, but as the Son of Man, and as a representative of what man, the male side of man, truly is. A man who has an accurate conception of a woman, his female side, as equal. But, you know, in our world, it seems, no, not only are the women judged inferior, if ever they are going to be given any power, then they're going to be considered more powerful, more important than the majority of men, of male men. So, you know, this worship, this self-worship, this self-glorification of certain individuals who are up on a pedestal, and, you know, people either love her or hate her, when, yes, she is a human being who has been alienated from birth So, you know, what is the point of judging her? It is like judging somebody, you know, somebody who's been trained from birth to jump through hoops, and it's like, oh look, they're mad, they're jumping through hoops. Are they really mad? Are they really responsible for their, have they chosen that path through life, or have they not been firmly set upon it with a large body of very powerful people cajoling and convincing them that, oh, well done, well done, well done. Why should she ever step outside that circle? What is waiting for her outside that circle then? What is there for this family in the external world except a load of hate and division and lies? So in the end they become imprisoned within their so-called power. And then people go around saying things like this, you know, putting words in the Queen's mouth. I mean, that is... And as I say, I can't find anything anywhere to confirm that she has said that. I couldn't find it in her interview with the BBC. It's... You know, she just was planted as head of a dynasty that had existed long before she was born, and that then she's expected to uphold, and there's a whole mass of people all dependent on her staying in power and control, so they have vested interest in making sure that she's kept sweet, and she probably doesn't know half of what's going on, you know. I think she has her ideas, but who knows, you know, who knows? And I think it's about time that Britain's royal family were liberated from this, you know, gold encasement and, you know, these ridiculous baubles, which mean what? What, you know, what does this crown? Apparently it's priceless, this crown. Really? Is it priceless? What would happen if the crown suddenly disappeared from England? Would we all starve? You know, what actually is it doing for us? And yet people are like, oh, it's worth so much money. Oh, imagine what you could do with all that money. Really, really? What do you want to do with it? Anything to help the planet? Anything to help the next generation? Anything to redress the rampant imbalance and the corrupted order that tries to, you know, find some stability within the imbalance? Well, I'm sorry, you can't find stability within balance. And any order that you impose within that imbalance is itself a tyranny. It's just a crime added to existing crime that then creates even more myriad forms of disorder and disease. And it will eventually, you know, destroy the very powers that it's set to facilitate its order. Because, you know, if the royal families stop obeying the order, well, you know, what have they done? As I say, Prince Harry's getting married to a woman of colour. That's that's very, very disturbing. And, you know, I just don't believe that the Queen has said that I fully agree with Donald Trump. Muslim refugees are dividing nationality. I fully agree with Donald Trump. We should deport them to avoid bloody terrorist attacks. That is a quote. Did she really say that? And as I say, I've searched and I've even put hoax, but no, Reddit saying it. Oh no, thank you Reddit. Here we go. What is the point of linking to a quote that looks like it was completely made up? There is nothing at the link to support the sensational and highly unlikely headline. So, oh, she's a pedo. That's great, but where's the quote? Yes, thank you, Sanity. We will have to wait and see. Oh, here we go. She's German, she's a reptile, and blah, blah, blah. You know, why can't people just accept that she's a victim of her own social conditioning, as a lot of us are? When we look at our beliefs and our opinions, how much of it is actually ours and how much of it has just been fed into us, and we've just aligned with it because it's coming from people that we have social or familial connections to, or even professional connections with. How many of us choose to go along with opinions and whatever that actually serve our interests because the people that are spouting those, you know, maybe we're going to get a job through them, maybe we fancy that person, maybe that person's our dad or mum. Or we just want to be part of a cohesive group and be treated with people that like us. You know, we don't really support Donald Trump. We've got our misgivings about him, but, you know, we'll go full on ahead and, yeah, I support Donald Trump, I support Donald Trump, because by doing that, that then involves me in a wider online community, and I get lots of praise and pats on the back, and it's us against them. Who are them? What, them? Them. The same people who are trying to break down these divisions. And as I've said, there's only one division in this world, and that is between people who stand up for a child's rights and they who don't. Okay, that's it. Do you stand up for a child's rights? Or don't you stand up for a child's rights? If you don't stand up for children's rights, if you think children should not have rights, then you're not actually human. You are a danger to humanity. You're a threat to humanity. We will establish law in order to arrest you, to prevent you from harming children, okay? Whether that be through your ridiculous scientific inventions, or whether it be through the food that you're growing and manufacturing, whether it be through the stuff you're spraying in the air or injecting into their body, or whether it be through actual crimes that people desire to commit against children, or whether you be a financier wanting to rob children's parents of their right to earn a living wage and work reasonable hours that gives them time to spend with their children. You see, it all comes down to the child's rights. Now, there is every possibility and actually probability that Prince William and Harry will actually align with humanity and stand up for the child's rights and contribute towards bringing true balance to our society. Because we need to work with what we've got, don't we? You know, just breaking down existing power structures is only going to cause more chaos, actually put children at risk, and probably end up with an even worse form of leadership than the one that's, you know, been toppled. So the way to do it is for each existing power structure to change from within themselves according to the knowledge, the 21st century knowledge. If we don't live by that knowledge, then, you know, that's an ignorant society, and ignorance will fail. There's no two ways about it. Ignorance will fail very, very, very badly. That's the point, you know, and that was the point that Jesus made to humanity. That was why he came, is to warn us, And I've explained very clearly in my From Goya to Spain video, which I'll leave the link under this, exactly how serious the situation is, and that we do need to wake up to the stark reality of what we have been duped into just accepting as normal. Like, for example, the church and its foundation of faith according to an interpretation of who Jesus is and why he came to earth, you know, why he lived among humanity, why he called himself the Son of Man, both male and female man, not the Son of God. God is what? God is universal intelligence. God is the vastness of space and the quantum energy particle that arose from it. Each has a perfect concept of the other. A strong humanity is a humanity that is both male and female, each with a perfect concept of the other. The woman understands that the male is Jesus. The female understands Jesus in the male. The male understands Jesus, the female side of Jesus, in the female. They both have a perfect understanding of each other. They both understand that they are united in their compassion, caring, commitment to law and love. Now, all of these things one would expect a royal family to uphold. And all of these things are a reflection of true universal intelligence. Now, I'm sorry, Your Majesty, Queen Elizabeth, your church is not reflecting true intelligence, and it really is about time it did. And it is not supporting Jesus, because Jesus is nothing but a dead body in your church. The truth of Jesus lives within humanity. It's active. It's actively standing up for children's rights. It's actively trying to redress the imbalance. It's actively addressing the very serious issues that are going on in the world today, like Fukushima. So, in spite of everything that myself, my generations, previous generations have suffered as a direct result of the imposition of the force of power that your royal family represents. That's the bounty of amnesty that Jesus offers by way of forgiveness to people who really can change, who really can feel some sorrow and remorse about how we've lived in the past, how the errors that we've made directly through direct ignorance. And I'm talking about direct, you know, the real true definition of the word ignorance, which is to ignore what we know because it flies against what actually we've believed we knew for a long time. And because we believed it, we've been doing all these things wrong, but now we don't want to admit to that. So we'll just ignore what we know because it doesn't suit our agendas and our present power structures. That is what is going on, and it's a very dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous thing. And, you know, when people understand the true reality of our quantum energy, that it is equally as valid and important as the material world that we're biologically born into, you know, these biological bodies that are host to the golden light intelligence, which is our privilege to connect to as humans on this planet who are here. Why? To care for the planet, to protect the planet, to protect life, to care for life, to care for each other, to enjoy what this universe has given to us, and to rejoice in the absolute wonder and splendour of life. But instead, what are we doing? We are rejoicing in the glorification of certain individuals, all hankering after similar sorts of self-glorification, you know, every woman wants them rings on her fingers, you know, and I'm not criticising them. I'm not saying women shouldn't wear rings, okay? But what I am saying is that there's imbalance there. There's just too much credibility given to inanimate, actually valueless things that do nothing for us, okay? Now, there is a power within precious gems and you know, crystals. In fact, crystals have, which are the least precious, do actually hold the most power. So, you know, my idea would be, well, you know, if you really do want to have an accumulative effect of these things, if there is a power within them, then, you know, let's have every community have a building with all these precious gems and semi-precious gems in it, and let people go there from time to time and absorb that energy then. Because, you know, what is the point of wearing a little chip on your finger if everybody put those little chips into one place? And, you know, then we could all benefit from the power of that and actually get more. So, you know, everybody donating their little chips of whatever they've got on their fingers, and then we have a beautiful space that then we get the power of, what, 1 million little chips. You know, you know, we've got to move on. We've got to move on. We need to break out of this antiquated crap. This antiquated crap. It has to go. It is like dead wood, destroying the tree of life. And if we don't lose this dead wood now, it will rot the whole tree. Okay? So it's our choice. It is our choice. Lose the divisions. Stand up. The only thing you need to be interested in of what anybody says to you, regardless their faith, their colour, do you stand up for for children's rights, a child's rights? Do you stand up for their rights? Do you support child protection directives? If they don't, you don't need to have anything else to do with that person. Leave them. Find the people that do. Join with them. The people who've said no, we don't support child rights. You know, let them make up their own minds then from amongst their own crew and say, well, actually, I've changed my mind. Oh, welcome home. Okay. We don't need nastiness. We don't need the judgments. We don't need the divisions. There's only one division. Those who hold the child VIP and those who hold the child as minor. And I'm sorry again, Queen Elizabeth, but your courts do hold British children now, and in fact every child on this planet, as a minor human being. Again, it's a very, very serious matter that does need to be addressed, and we need to remove this legal definition of minor that's been applied to children. And yes, the church needs to be totally reorganised. And I can say these things, why? Because I've had to live for 26 years having witnessed the event of light being, okay, universal light being, and receiving the message of universal law of abundance and compassion. I have had to live with that experience in this society. I've had to suffer the judgment and the oppression and the persecution and just being continually called mad. Okay, well, I'm still here, and actually I don't think I'm mad. What I experienced was real, and it was the same reality. It is the reality of Jesus. It's the same reality, same universal intelligence from Jesus and also Prophet Muhammad. Okay, and you know, I can confirm that I had a dream of Prophet Muhammad after I had that experience. He had golden light shining out of his skin as well. So, you know, I understand the way Islam has been brutalised and misinterpreted it in exactly the same way has happened to Christianity. Muslims know it, that's why they call ISIS Daesh. Okay? And, you know, we just need to accept the reality. So, okay, reality then shows us that we've been living wrong. We've been believing wrong things. What does that mean? Oh, we must be punished. No, it doesn't. It means stop doing wrong, accept forgiveness, move on, start doing right. Lose the guilt, okay? Yes, you will feel remorse for all the terrible things you've probably been doing while you just did not understand. But it's a waste of time beating yourself up over that. That is why forgiveness is there. That's why the reality of forgiveness is there. It's for people who are really trying to change, who are struggling. It's to empower people. Forgiveness isn't to, you know, for somebody that's going around abusing children and you think you can just forgive them and yeah, that's okay. No, it isn't. I'm sorry, no. Forgiveness cannot include leaving children at risk. You see what I mean? Child rights are fundamental to everything. So I hope people will be wary about what's going on in the world now. I hope that they will make a connection to reality, to the truth. The beautiful truth awaits for those who can get to grips with the ugly truth and understand the reality of it and where we stand in it and how to extricate ourselves from it. And as I say, child protection directives, please.